And we are live. Dazzler, how are you doing, my man?
I'm all right, Noel. I'm all right, but I have a little bit of venting to do over the next hour. So,
Right.
anyone willing to listen, stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. You certainly were fired up today when we were talking on WhatsApp. A number of Man United fans had you well fired up. So yeah, absolutely, should be interesting.
And I
Um,
mean, anyone that's tuning in for the first time, or anyone that doesn't know us, I am a Man United fan. I am a season ticket holder. I am as much invested in this as anybody else. However, my mind works slightly differently than most United fans, and I do a lot less pissing and moaning.
and if anyone has watched last night's show, soon to be wearing that beautiful shirt behind me.
I don't think that will fit me, pal, but listen, we can try. I
I
think we might
promise
have to get a
you.
special.
No, I promise it'll fit. It'll fit. If it fits me, it'll fit you. Don't worry about that. Craig's in the chat there. How we doing, Craig? Big up, Craig. Great to see you in
Big
there.
up to our buddy Craig.
Craig has a few Craig has a few things to get off his chest tonight as well. He hit me up earlier on WhatsApp and stuff like that, so it'll be interesting to see. But should be a bit of crack. So we'll wait for the chat to fill up a little bit with a few people. While we're waiting on that, how was the week?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, Out in the sunshine, working on me tan. Yeah, couldn't really complain about the whole thing. Listen, an L signing or two might have made the week a little bit easier, but we'll have to wait for a bit of that, won't we?
We're going to be
We're really
getting into
making us
that as
wait.
well. Yeah, we're going to be talking about. Well, you had one signing this morning, didn't you? It was dividend day.
That's another thing that gets me go up, and it gets me go up in the wrong in the opposite kind of way than you're thinking. Because again, we've spoken about this at length. Anybody that decides to go in and run a football club or run any kind of a business deserves to take a dividend out of it. Now, I heard Gary Neville talk, and I heard him say, that you shouldn't be taking a dividend out because of the way the club was and stuff like that. The lads still ponied up and put their money together and says, we're going to leverage a certain amount of debt against this club, and they did it. I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning for nothing. Would you get out of bed in the morning for nothing?
No, I don't think me and you'll disagree on this because we've had conversations on this before. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I certainly wouldn't be getting out of bed for 2%. I just want to put that out
2%.
there as well. Yeah, he's here. Grannon is here for the
Stay
Darren Man
tuned.
United rant.
Stay
Good to see
tuned.
you. Welcome on board. Should be a good one. Stick to
Yeah.
this.
Stay.
This is gonna be worth clipping, isn't it? This one. This is gonna be big.
I had so many arguments with United fans today. It was scary. I feel like I spent most of my day just arguing with United fans over the most ridiculous things and just like, oh. But I actually feel like I spent about 18 months, maybe longer, arguing with United fans over the same things and over, little irritating things. And I'm just like, lads, please, like, just lay off the whinging, will you?
does
Don't
does
want to
it
start
ever get
sounding.
does it ever get as far where you wanna change your allegiance? Do they
Absolutely
ever
not.
push you that far? Never that far.
No, they don't. They don't. However, and I made a comment today. I am in I'm in a manu, and this forum has, I would say, you know, I'd say it's become a toxic, toxic place. And I have, on a number of occasions, wanted to step out of the forum. Now, I don't do it because I'm a big boy and I'm not going to take me ball and go home and all like that. Plus, one thing I will say is, since I've been part of this forum, um, I made a lot of good buddies on this, with various different United fans. Really, really good guys, And at the end of the day, I get football is about opinions, and I mean, like one of the guys I'm having a a few crossword with today, and that won't get in between us, but it does grate on me, you know. But it won't get in between us. I'd imagine he might be listening. I'm not going to name drop. I'd imagine he might be listening, but he's a great guy. He knows I love him, and I know he loves me. But we absolutely see things completely differently when we're talking about football and United and things like that, which makes it tough.
Which isn't unusual. It is a divided fan base at the moment, very much so. So yeah, I'm not
Absolutely.
surprised. Well, listen, let's run down. Here's some of the topics we're going on to tonight. We're gonna have a talk about Arsenal, of course, and that iconic number 14 jersey and this whole Ian Wright situation and stuff like that. Mark will be delighted we're gonna talk about that kind of stuff. Bowley clearing the decks. Bruce Buck goes and Marina goes. We're gonna be certainly talking about that. Bowley throwing himself right into the hot seat.
And Marina was a diamond. There was no need for that, Noel. She was a great girl.
Yeah.
Has there been football than Marina Granovskaya? Like, I mean, she was able to put some deals together. Like, really, really put some deals together for Chelsea. You know, Marky. I see Marky chiming in here.
Yeah, already. He's fresh out of the blocks here. He's fresh out of the blocks here tonight. Pure shite. Yeah. It's only a number. I like that. That's kind of, yeah. It's definitely setting the narrative that we spoke about anyway. Somewhat. That's without a doubt. We're also going to be talking about the Lukaku deal, but we're not going to be talking about the deal. We're going to be talking about the shithousery of that picture. Did you see the picture as part of the deal that he put up, where he's sitting there? Yeah, not nice. Not nice. Craig reckons she's the female Michael Edwards.
I think she's done a phenomenal job at Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised to see her head somewhere on the continent and get a really good job. Maybe. Well, I think she might go in to replace the boy Ocampos at Monaco.
Interesting. Big shout there. We're also going to be talking about today, and obviously, first of all, before we get into today, we have to talk about Wayne Rooney departing Derby City. Not often I give a clap to an ex-Man United guy, an Everton guy. I think he did a stellar job there, dipped into his own pocket and did as much as possibly he could to do as much as he could for that club. And I was kind of saddened today to hear that he was leaving. And I was listening to an interview as well. And in the interview, they turned around and said he went to the administrators. Obviously, he has to tell them that he's departing the club. And they even kind of tried to talk him out of it. So that'll tell you how revered he was at the club. So, yeah, sad day for Derby County Day. We'd be worried about him, wouldn't we?
I would be majorly worried for Derby County. Majorly worried. There was a lot of stories coming out towards the end of the season about what Rooney was doing. I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think he did a phenomenal job. Like, to go into the last 5 games to still be in with any chance of staying in that league after, first of all, the points deduction, and second of all, the squad they started the season with. I think at one stage he had 8 senior pros, and you were just kind of thinking, this is going to be ridiculous. They're going to finish on a minus total, and they didn't. They were so good. He galvanized that squad. And you know what? I don't like making comparisons, but he galvanized that squad in almost like a Fergie-like manner. The way he was able to get the absolute best out of some of them young lads have and will go on to bigger and better things. The boy Feisty has already gone to Udinese, and the boy, I'm not even going to try and say his second name because I'll butcher it, but I know his first name is Malcolm. United were big into him, and apparently he just signed for Crystal Palace. So again, 2 more good footballers have come out of that as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk obviously about Man United today, and we're going to talk about the Glaziers and the dividend and all that kind of stuff, and you know, certain aspects of the Man United fan base linking that to the transfer budget as if they've taken 11 million out of the transfer budget or something like that, and you know, the timing of the dividend and why haven't they signed players and all this kind of thing. So we'll get into that. We're also going to get into we must talk about the French Senate. Liverpool making representation in the French Senate this week on the whole fiasco of the Champions League final and stuff like that. Spirit of Shankly and all address the Senate and give their opinion on it and stuff like that and all. This isn't over by a long shot. And actually Real Madrid fans were there as well, giving their side of things as well, which was very similar to the Liverpool fans. So where a lot of rival fans and people out there will call this a Liverpool thing, it's not really a Liverpool thing. Real Madrid fans were also affected by this situation, and I'm sure it has more to go.
I think it was a horrible, horrible, horrible incident for football in general, and for for people to have to witness at home to tune in to see the Champions League final the way it was, by the scenes that were ongoing and the videos that were coming out on social media and stuff like that. You're like, have we just visited the 1960s and 70s? What happened here? Like, you know what I mean? It was absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig coming in here, absolute respect for Wayne Rooney. Did everything and more for the club, including dipping into his own pocket on a regular basis in terms of hotels and travel and transport and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we wish him well wherever he goes. Craig also again worried about Mike Ashley, of course. We wouldn't want Mike Ashley to be taking over any club really, but yeah, said he has 50 million waiting.
We don't even like to have him buying a football club. Like, Jesus Christ. Talk about the Cockney Mafia.
Yeah, you'll probably agree with Craig here. He expects Tom Lawrence to be snapped up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Good
Did very well from this season. Took over that mantle as the captain as well. And really, really drove Derby on, you know.
Yeah, Mark Agreemage again, Darren. He says this 11 million people have to get paid at the end of the day. Nothing in the grand scheme of things. Good shout.
Nothing. It's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, so where will we start? Let's kick off later on in the show as well, lads. We're going to be doing a giveaway as well, so we have a little competition for you halfway through the show. I've come up with the idea, and I haven't even shared it with Darren yet, but it's going to be a belter, and it's going to be heavily linked to a lot of what we're talking about tonight. I hope you guys will get it out of the box. If I've come up with the question, that should give away the answer straight away. That's all I'm saying. So about halfway through, we'll pop the question out there.
Liverpool.
No. First one in the comments with the answer is going to get one of these beautiful. You can either have an upper tier hat or you can have a Shankly Sessions hat. And we also have the matching t-shirts to give away as well. And if you're a Liverpool fan, you can have the Shankly Sessions or the upper tier, whichever you want. If you want to style and look iconic this summer, no better stuff to be in. I think we've all sizes covered as well, so it should be all good. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. Craig's going with Ole in. Craig, big call there. What's going on there?
He must be talking about Derby, is he?
Maybe.
He couldn't be talking anywhere else. He couldn't be talking anywhere else.
He shouldn't even be talking Derby, and I'm just putting that out there.
God.
I'm just putting that out there. Let's begin. Let's talk. The iconic number 14 shirt. How do we feel about shirts? Should shirts be retired? How's your feeling on this? And then we'll begin to talk about the kind of blow up over the whole Eddie Nketiah thing, where I think it wasn't necessarily, the shirt really was only a byproduct of the argument, what blew up and Ian Wright and stuff like that. Let's talk about shirts in general. Should shirts be retired? Stuff like that. I've seen Steven Gerrard hand his shirt to Naby Keita. Never had a problem with it, never really commented on it and stuff like that. What you're thinking on shirts?
Yeah, so for me, I would say earlier on, like it's not a huge deal. Shirts, you know, numbers, it's not a big deal at all. At all clubs, there's going to be these iconic numbers and stuff like that. You know, obviously at Arsenal with Henry and stuff like that. If you look at United, we've had, you know, some great number 7s over the years. If you look at other clubs, they've had amazing number 9s. I saw obviously this week the curse of the Chelsea number 9 as well. You know, so there's a lot of this surrounding numbers and jerseys and stuff like that. Listen, if you're a good footballer, you know, you go around wearing no jersey and you still beat lads. That's, you know what I mean? Wouldn't matter what number Ronaldo wore. Not for me. Has obviously, he's brokered the deal with Arsenal. And, you know, maybe the number was part of the deal. Maybe it wasn't. But if that's what Arsenal have agreed to, let the kid go and wear it. We don't know what Eddie Nketiah is going to become just yet. Like if you just look across North London, you know, and look at Harry Kane. Like Harry Kane was on loan at Norwich, he was on loan at Leicester, he was on loan here, there, and everywhere. Didn't really strike it rich, and all of a sudden got into the team, got a run of games, started scoring a few goals. Now he's England captain. Now he's he's got a plan in that Premier League and in the England jersey and stuff like that. And would everyone have said Harry Kane was going to do that when he was on loan at Leicester and he was sitting on the bench behind JB Vardy, or when he was on loan at Norwich and stuff like that? Absolutely, they wouldn't. So we don't know what guys are going to become until, afterwards. Yeah, we can always say such and such is going to be a good player and such and such is going to be a good player, but it doesn't always happen. Lots of good players came over the years and I thought, wow, this guy's going to be amazing. 2 years down the road, we're already playing Sunday League in, the Czech Republic. So nothing wrong with Czech Republic, obviously. Great beer, lovely women. But, it's just, you just don't know how these things are going to go. Not a big deal for me. Arsenal fans, get over yourselves, will you?
Yeah, well, I think any Chelsea fans coming on,
Arsenal fans are getting so pissy.
Yeah, well, I think Chelsea fans who come on would prefer to have the number 9 jersey retired, but not for the same reasons.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the other thing. You've only got 99 numbers that you can go off. Unless we're starting to go into 3 numbers, right? You've only got 99 you can go off. If you start retiring jerseys left, right, and centre for this guy and that guy and this guy and that, what are lads going to wear in 10, 15, 20 years? Do you know what I mean? Some football clubs are around 100 years. Let's say they retired 2 every couple of years. You could be 20, 30, 40 bleeding numbers down out of your 99. And all of a sudden you're looking going, oh, I can't use that one. That's Johnny's. He used to play in the 1960s FA Cup final. Oh, I can't use that one. This guy scored the winning cup in the LFD Van final. And you're like, lads, come on, give us a break, will you?
Yeah, I suppose the argument on the jerseys is it's only really your jersey while you're contracted to the club, really, is it? And then once you leave, you've kind of surrendered it, really, haven't you, somewhat? Yeah, there has been some iconic ones, but I'm not too sure. Go on, yeah.
I love what Mark said there, and it's just reminded me of something. Mark just mentioned no shirt should be retired, pass the torch, and let someone else make history and memories with it. I am, if people don't watch the show, or maybe they're tuning in for the first time, they may not know, I'm a Man United fan, and I'm also a huge All Blacks fan. Huge All Blacks fan. I've named 2 of my kids after All Blacks, and the third one was going to be an All Black until she was female. Anyway, well, if you weren't at it. But the All Blacks, they speak about history and heritage and stuff like this, and they talk about being incumbents of the jersey and wanting to pass the jersey on in better condition than they found it in. If we look at it in that sense, that's what footballers should be trying to do as well.
Yeah.
That's a great point that Mark's come in with there.
Yeah,
those jerseys belong to that club, and they belong to that history of that club, and they belong to the fans of that club. And those jerseys should be passed like torches and passed on to the next one. And they should take the baton and run with it.
Yeah, and I think when you think of the 14 jersey, I mean, Theo Walcott had it. He was a very, very good player, very unlucky, struck down by injuries and stuff like that and all. But has a reasonable record there at Arsenal, scored a lot of goals and stuff like that. And then Aubameyang wore it as well. So the legacy of the jersey up till recent times, I know it went a little bit sideways after that.
Up till Aubameyang.
Yeah, well, I mean, Aubameyang, if you think of Aubameyang when he came in, he was an absolute goal machine.
Yeah, I just think, towards the end, maybe his treatment of the club wouldn't have been what was becoming of somebody going to wear one of those legendary jerseys,
Yeah, true. Good point. Craig makes the point, support the kid, don't be heaping any unnecessary pressure on him. Encourage him to grasp it and make it his own in the present. Great shout by Craig there. Spot on, Craig. Super stuff. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we're all in agreement here on the thread and on the chat about our feelings on jerseys and stuff like that. Let's talk about Ian Wright. Had a bit of a run-in with this kid on social media and had a proper go off him about disrespecting Eddie Nketiah and stuff like that. And there's been a lot of division in the fan base. Some people were saying, if you're a supporter and you're an Arteta in and all that kind of stuff, you'd be saying that Riley was absolutely spot on, that the kid was disrespected and stuff like that. If you're kind of Arteta out and you didn't want Eddie Nketiah to re-sign, you're probably feeling pissed at the fact that he re-signed, and it's a big deal, 5 million, 100 grand a week, and also, it's a big contract for a lad like that who you could argue maybe 2-3 months ago wanted to leave. The club made it clear he wanted to leave, but obviously with Aubameyang going and stuff like that, he got his chance on the side, scored a few goals. Wasn't brilliant, but did okay. But obviously they fell short in terms of the top four and stuff like that. What was your making of this kind of social media spat the other day?
So, like, again, this is something that really grates on me, I have to say. I don't know why, and this will certainly come back to my United rant. I don't know why fans of any club feel the need to go in on their own players. Now, like, let's think of this here. We're fans of the club, right? Unless that player has blatantly disrespected the club. Now, when I say blatantly, I'm talking about speaking about the club in, derogatory manner, disgracing the badge, saying he wants out, giving the fans a bit of grief, doing this, doing that. Any of that I get completely. But if you have a guy who's going out and is willing to put a shift in, regardless of talent and ability, because they're the important things, right? Some players have talent, some players have ability, some don't, but they have work rate. Yeah. And all teams are made up of players with varying levels of all three of those things. And fans at times just seem to want to get on top of their own players. They want to give it to Eddie Nketiah. They want to give it, like today I've heard an awful lot about Scott McTominay. An awful lot of United fans wanted to give it to Scott McTominay today. And I'm like, why of all the people that are at Man United would Scott McTominay be, be the one you'd want to have a pop off, right? Scott McTominay posted and I don't want to get away from the Eddie Nketiah thing, but Scott McTominay posted a picture on Instagram, and we see obviously the lad Mark Albridge coming in and saying, bodybuilders FC and stuff like this. I have a completely different opinion on this. Like, here's a kid, and I know what United fans are going to say, because I've spoken to a lot of them today about this. They're going to say, kid's not good enough. Okay. I'm certainly not saying the kid is a worldie. He's not Brian Robson. He's not Roy Keane in there, yeah? He puts a shift in a lot of times when guys around who have, A, cost a lot more money, and B, who have more talent in one foot than that kid has in their body, he puts the shift in when they don't. Look at Pogba. Pogba's left the building. We all know how good a footballer Paul Pogba is. But he didn't want to get down and dirty. He didn't want to put a shift in. He didn't want to go out and play for that badge. Scott McTominay does that. Now, whether he takes a picture or not, with his top off, showing that he's doing some late night training, right? I'm looking at this kid going, Jesus, kid's in great nick. Maybe come August when playing that first league game against Brighton, and I hope he does. I hope he's in midfield for it, right? Because I at least know that's one guy that's going to be pulling in the right direction. If he goes out, am I going to be thinking, you know what? He should have been sending those. He shouldn't have been putting those pictures on Instagram where he was jacked. He should have been out in nightclubs getting pissed and causing riots. No, of course he shouldn't. So, like, we just can't. Like, people are just moaning about everything these days. They're not happy when he's trying to get himself fit and in shape for the season. They're not happy when he's out having a gargle. They're not happy when he's out with his bleeding girlfriend. They're not happy when he walks his dog. It's not Scott McTominay. It's the people who keep pissing and moaning about it. And in my world, it's United fans at the minute. It's obviously, in this case, it's this Arsenal fan. And Ian Wright just went, you know what? Ian Wright obviously feels like me. He's like, why are we getting on this kid? This is a kid who's been a product of our own academy. He's a kid that goes out and plays for that jersey, plays for that badge, and plays for those fans. Don't be getting on kids like that. You want to get on anyone, get on the imports. Get on the lads that cost 50, 60 million, that don't give a fiddlers, that don't turn up to training on time, that piss and moan about not getting put through your academy. They're not the lads you want to get on top of.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's an interesting one because there was a huge debate earlier in the week on TalkSport. I know Danny Murphy and Simon Jordan had a big debate on TalkSport on Tuesday, I think it was, about Jack Grealish. And Jack
Yeah,
Grealish is out partying. 1 minute he's in Ibiza, the next minute he's in Vegas.
yeah.
Serious money apparently is being dropped. I heard something in the reason of he booked a VIP thing in Vegas or something like that. It was 116 grand and there was like 30 bottles of champagne or something's involved. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what was put out there. So, like, would United fans be happier if Scott McTominay was off doing that?
You see, I know what United fans are going to say about that, and their answer is going to be, "Yeah, but Jack Grealish won a league title. Well, he got a medal, but Jack Grealish did about as much to win that league title as the bleeding Kitman did. Let's be honest here, right? He had a woeful season at Man City,
Some would say the kit man did more. Let's be honest
right?
here now.
He had a really poor season at Man City. He came in for huge money. He didn't get into the team. He was injured. He was lethargic. His performances weren't good. Yeah. United fans want to have in shape for next season. Oh yeah, well, putting yourself in that kind of shape isn't necessarily going to make you a better player. Well, I haven't met too many players that got worse when they got fitter. Like, let's be honest here, lads. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Absolute
absolutely.
dribble.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Let's move on to let's change it up a little bit. Let's chat Chelsea here. 2 points probably we want to chat about. One is the clearing of the decks. I know there was a number of Chelsea fans out there. Some were saying, yeah, out with the old, in with the new, all good, happy days. And some were a little bit divided. Some were saying that, like, okay, if you want to take out Bruce Book, that's fine. Maybe keep Marina on a little bit longer, maybe till August or maybe 5 6 months till everything beds in. And they were expressing concern that when you take that level of experience out of the club in the fell sweep of, I think, what there was 3 4 days between the two of them, they were expressing their concerns that you're taking that amount of knowledge out and stuff like that. What you thinking on that? If it's a fresh new start, do you clear the decks? What do you do there?
Well, I've seen this happen before, actually. I've seen a very, very similar case to this where one Alex Ferguson left Manchester United, one David Gill left Manchester United as well at the same time. And they were two of the big figureheads at the club, two guys that were involved in getting deals done, signing players. Obviously, Sir Alex ran the club. David Gill was a big ally for him. And he did a lot of the transfer dealings and stuff like that. To lose your manager like that was huge for United. And that was a poison chalice. Nobody was ever going to walk into that gig and things go very, very well for them. However, I would argue the case if David Moyes was given that job and David Gill had stayed on for 2 to 3 more years, we would be in an extremely different position.
Mark saying the Russian money train has come to stop.
Yeah, well,
Darren there in deep thought his Wi-Fi has let him down at the moment, so no doubt he'll bounce back in now in a second, I'd say. Um, but yeah, you and the chat, Craig, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on Chelsea at the moment, clearing the decks and stuff like that? Um, it's a lot of experience there, a lot of club experience and stuff like that. And there's also talk, I think, wasn't there talk as well that Peter Cech might depart the club as well, which is interesting. So Darren's probably just gone off to fix his Wi-Fi there, but yeah, Craig in here. I worry about Chelsea as in their direction, and I mean above Tuchel. And will that kind of impact be positive? I'm not sure at all. Marino was a solid worker and got deals done in a good, timely manner. Good shout. Yeah, Craig, tend to agree with you there. I don't know. I just wonder. I wonder were they looking at trying to pin the Lukaku situation on someone, or is that where it was going and stuff like that? Yeah, so it's interesting. Morris is in from Cheap Heat. Morris, what's happening? Evening, gents. Watching, before the gig. Cheers, Morris. Thanks for dropping by. Coming in at a good time. Go as well. Check out Cheap Heat Productions podcast out there on YouTube. Absolutely fabulous. Some brilliant guests out there. He covers everything from football. He covers entertainment, rock bands, everything, TV, iconic TV guys, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, get over there, Cheapy Productions Podcast, and make sure you give them a support, like, share, and subscribe as always. Just 1 second here now. Computer just cut me off. It's fully charged. Darren seems to be having some technical issues. He should be back on shortly, I'd say. Let's move on and let's talk about Lukaku. Lukaku is an interesting one. Departed the club there the other day. He's going back to Inter Milan. I think the deal is a loan deal, 8 million, with 2 million of add-ons or something like that. But that departing picture was real shithousery towards Chelsea, wasn't it? And the Chelsea fan base. I don't know if people seen it, but it was kind of like, it was this kind of thing, and he was departing the club and all. And I thought it was in really bad taste, but probably not what Chelsea fans wouldn't have expected anyway, because they've been going in hard on the guy based on this year and everything that went down. So obviously a very a difficult one, Craig back in here on Chelsea again, talking about Chelsea could seriously be challenged and get dragged into a battle for top 4 instead of a title challenge if not careful. In all honesty, Craig, I don't see Chelsea challenging for the title this season. I think it's going to take them a window or two to fix their problems as well. Even if they bring the players in, to get those players to bed in and playing the Tuchel away and stuff like that, I think they could find themselves probably off the boil a little bit early. I could see them potentially landing a cup or something like that in terms of silverware, but in terms of trying to figure out their front line and stuff like that, they haven't signed anyone yet, and they're probably going to have to bring in a blend of new signings, and on top of that, maybe bring back maybe some loans as well. So it could be challenging times for them without a doubt. Yeah, but certainly going to be interesting. But yeah, just when you see those pictures there of Lukaku, it's proper shithousery. Even though the Chelsea fans, I'm sure they're delighted that he's gone, and just excuse me, I'm dying here with a cold. But even I'm sure Chelsea fans are delighted that he's out of the way. He's just become basically a distraction, But that's neither here nor there. We will see how that unfolds. Craig, in terms of Liverpool, I'm going to change up. Craig's in the chat there. We're going to talk about Liverpool. Get your thoughts. Sadio Mane exiting the club and going to Bayern Munich. I don't know if you were online on Tuesday or Wednesday and stuff like that when the medical was being done and he was flying into Germany, and you see him in the Bayern Munich jersey. It was quite emotional for me. It was the end of an era, the breaking up of that trio and stuff like that. I've given us some fabulous moments. I don't know what people's thoughts were on that, but it was really I got quite saddened by it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It was just the thoughts of I seen they did a new graphic in Liverpool and stuff like that, and it has the 5 front guys. And I thought it was really weird to look at it as well. Sadio Mane not in there, and I was thinking it's going to feel so weird next season with the front line out there and no Sadio Mane. Obviously, everything evolves and things change, and it's the end of an era, but definitely got emotional about it. What about Taki Minamino? Taki Minamino heading off to Monaco for around 15 million or something like that. I thought this was a difficult one as well, because I had a kind of a soft spot for Taki. I thought when he came in, I thought he did all right. I thought he was really, really good in the cups and stuff like that. He was very much responsible for our run in both cups this year. Scored some really, really good goals, and he even chipped in, I think, in the Southampton game towards the end in the league and stuff like that and all. I don't think he always got the opportunity that he probably deserved. And I don't think he probably fitted in the way they thought he was going to fit in. And that was nothing against the boy. It was as much the club as it was, the player and stuff like that. But it was sad to see him go. Yeah, if anyone wants to jump in as well, I'll just send you on. I'll drop the link into the comments now. That's the link if anyone wants to come on StreamYard. If you want to come in to discuss something as well, that's our link there. You can use that link if you want to pop on and chat. But yeah, for Liverpool, it's an interesting one as well, and it's a difficult one as well, because we're also looking at a situation here where we need players definitely into our midfield. Our midfield definitely looks very light in terms of cover. And I don't know, they're talking about business being done. I don't think business is being done. I think we could have a lot of trouble there. I think if we don't bring a midfielder in, I think our midfielder is going to our midfield is going to be very light. I think our starting midfield is okay, depending on what you think it is. Fabinho, Thiago, and either Hendo or Keita. And I think, but once you separate out off that, and then you're left with Curtis and Milner and you know, Elliot and players like that, I think it's a little bit light, and one to be kind of looked at. Um, Craig coming in here with Taki. Craig was always a big supporter of Taki, like myself. He said he gave all he could in the times he played, which was really, really good. Craig's going to come on. He's going to join us to give us his thoughts.
Hello.
What up?
You hear
How
me
are
alright,
you?
yeah?
It's been a while. Yeah,
Been a
absolutely.
while.
Not a bother. How you keeping?
Yeah, good, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Wearing that lovely jersey from last season. Hard to believe that they all go so quick and stuff like that, I heard Nike were
Yeah,
looking at a situation. I don't know if you were listening to Nike. They were talking a situation where they're talking about maybe jerseys going for 2 years again the way it used to be. Because they must be handing out an awful lot of money and royalties and stuff like that,
90 quid a pop isn't easy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
absolutely.
I really like this shirt. I think they did a great job on it.
It's
Very
lovely, isn't it?
reminiscent.
Real old school
The
polo
green
shirt.
kind
Yeah,
of,
really
yeah,
nice.
really like it. Um,
Yeah,
you know, you and Darren so far have been really enjoying it. It's great to hear
yeah,
the views, obviously, from both yourselves and Mark as well, kind of chiming in.
yeah, yeah. So what's your thoughts? Give us your thoughts on Taki and on Sadio. How sad were you
Yeah,
to see
I was
Sadio
just
leave in
kind
that
of.
Bayern gear?
It only kind of hit me when I physically seen him in Munich in the jersey and his smile. You know, he's always smiling, Sadio. Um, you know, for 6 years he was the first kind of big signing under Klopp. He kind of started the revolution when you really think about it.
Yeah,
Always admired him. I'm sure, like yourself as a player, very difficult to play against. You know, caused everyone trouble. Nearly signed for United, I think, before us, or there was talks, and then obviously we got the deal done. But when we started to put the jigsaw together, no better place to start at the time.
yeah,
A player who gave absolutely everything, and also at the same time, absolute zero trouble. Never in the media, never any trouble on the pitch, never any trouble off the pitch. A great image for the club and for his hometown. You know, the work he's done for Senegal and continues to do. You know, he should be extremely proud of himself. You know, you never think when you have the three lads for so long, it's kind of, you know, you think it's going to go on forever, but
yeah,
unfortunately not. You know, when you physically seen him in the jersey, I think then it kind of hit me. I got a bit emotional that we won't see him at Anfield next season. You know, he's given absolutely everything. The first 6 months of the season, I'm sure by his own right, and last season were extremely hard for him. But
yeah,
if anyone could have bounced back in that second half, it was Sadio. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best players in the league in the second half of the season, if not the best. I give him me blessing and I really wish him well. It's going to be so
yeah,
strange though, seeing him for Bayern Munich, but they're after getting an absolute steal of a deal. The price tag,
yeah,
the
absolutely.
age,
Yeah.
what they're going to get,
I,
as in work
I was
rate.
on
And,
I was on Twitter the other day, and it was so difficult because you seen the plane landing and he was going for the medical, and then you see him in the Bayern gear, and then at the same time Liverpool were releasing the goodbye videos and the thank you videos and his best goals and all this sort of thing. So it really pulled on the heartstrings both ways, no doubt about it. It was tough to see Sadio like that, and it was so weird. And funny thing, I thought out of the whole of the front three, I thought he would be the last one that we would lose.
I would agree with that. Long term, I
Yeah.
thought he would have been the one who would have stayed on. I I understand we probably don't know the full extent of it. I know his wage doesn't reflect his performances, as in what he
Mm,
was on, but at the same
mm.
time, our club have a way about it, and you know we have to agree and accept that.
Yeah, I think that's going to have to evolve and change anyway. You know what I mean?
Yes, for
You
certain
know,
performances, you know, certain
yeah,
longevity of performances and the importance of the performances as well.
mm, yeah. But I think when you're at that level and you're dealing with top tier players, I think you're going to have to eventually pay top tier money, and you can't keep on turning around going, oh well, we have this wage structure in place and we live and die by this wage structure, because then you might be mediocre. And I was thinking about it the other day with Sadio Mane. and everyone was saying, oh, he wanted 350,000, and they were at 230,000 or whatever it was, and all this kind of thing. And I was thinking, why didn't Liverpool think out of the box a little bit more? This is a guy who we now sends loads of money back to Senegal for the redevelopment of his town and the country and all that kind of thing. And I was thinking, why didn't Liverpool turn around to Sadio Mane and say, listen, we're going to set up the Sadio Mane Liverpool Foundation for the redevelopment of his town in Senegal. And what we're going to do is we're going to pay you 250,000 a week because that's what we feel you're worth, which is exactly what he was worth. And every week we're going to throw 100 grand into that foundation. So you don't have to send your money back. It is your money, but you don't have to send it back, and you're going to manage the foundation. You're going to say where it goes, what schools or hospitals or football or water or wells or whatever it is they're doing over there. You're fully in control of that. And I think if we had sold him a project, something like that, and that 100 grand that we spend a week, the PR we would have got off that would have been absolutely monumental as well, because we're involved in loads of foundations around the world. And that would have been just another one. And I think if we had sold a gig like that to Sadio Mane, I think Sadio Mane might have put a smile on his face and he would have re-signed for us, so we could show how much we actually did care. In terms of his disrespect, what are you thinking on the disrespect in terms of him? A lot of people were saying the club kind of disrespected him because they were focusing on Mo Salah's contract all the time. And
I don't understand why the Sadio Mane contract wasn't done a lot sooner. Just my opinion. I don't know why this has gone to this stage and he has left. His importance is just as big as Mo's, if not bigger, as in along over the 6-year period. You can't deny that. I would have liked this to be done and wrapped up a long time ago, but for some reason here we are, and now he is left. I think what you said is a very good point, and that could have been something that inserted into the clause of his contract, as in, we nominate this amount, X amount per week to Senegalese, down like City or wherever it is he wanted it to go. And that's extremely close to his heart. And if we cared that much, I'm sure we could have stipulated that in some way to him. There's no doubt at Bayern Munich he will get a good wage. Lewandowski is probably on his way out. That probably frees up a lot of wage bill, I imagine, for a club like Bayern Munich anyway. Not that they need it, but I'm very happy for him. It's hard. It's a bitter pill, but we move on, and I only wish him well. And I look forward to seeing him hopefully in Europe and with Bayern. And there's no doubt about it what they're getting. He will definitely. They're in a rebuilding process, you could nearly say, as in European kind of standard and stuff. And to start, as a starting point, Sadio Mane coming in,
he'll score bag loads of goals in the Bundesliga. There's no doubt about it.
He's his level is too strong for that. He's doing in the Premier League, like the Bundesliga. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, what you thinking on the midfield? Need another midfielder in, don't we? We're still short. We can't be finished business.
The midfield is still unsolved for me, as I would say. I would like a box-to-box. I would like someone who can burst out of the midfield into an attacking option, give us, what kind of Coutinho will give us nearly into 10, as in someone who can drive or someone who can be just behind the strikers and supply. I can't see our midfield business being done. There's a lot of talk about prioritising Naby Keita's contract. For me, that doesn't really solve anything at all, in my opinion. I do think we need nearly a box-to-box. I really, really like the lad off Lazio, Milinkovic-Savic. I was someone who what Liverpool would need. Or Barella. He was very forward-minded and very forward-thinking, very good with the ball. What do you feel yourself is missing from the midfield? Do you feel we're missing that kind of injection of attack from there and goals and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's the creativity that bothers me. If you see when Thiago comes out of the team, I've no problem with Fabinho at all. He's absolutely world class. My worry is when Thiago comes out of the team, there's no creativity at all. And with Naby Keita as well, you just don't have that consistency in there. One week he can give you a 7 or an 8, and the next week he's a 4 or a 5. He can be back to a 7 or 8, back to a 4 or 5. There's just no consistency level with him, giving you that 7 every week. And then the Hendo, as much as we love Hendo, our captain and stuff like that, time is catching up there a little bit and stuff like that. Work rate, you can't fault him whatsoever. But in terms of that creativity, earlier in the year, he was really, really good out there with him and Trent and Salah when they were putting those triangles together and that movement and stuff like that. He was really, really impressive. But towards the end of the season, that tended to dry up. And I just have a little bit concerned. I like Curtis Jones. I think he gives us something different, but I think he's very heavily focused on trying to impress the gaffer every time he's on the pitch rather than playing his game. He's a little bit of kind of maturing in that area to do. Harvey obviously is a bundle of talent there, but we're not too sure at the moment really what we got. And I think most people on this podcast at this stage know my thoughts on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. He would have been gone for me way before Taki Minamino.
I don't know by the club. I'm not being bad toxic by any means, but you wouldn't even know he was in the club half the time. That's just how it is. He doesn't offer anything whatsoever.
Yeah, I always worry about players that pull out of tackles. And when I was over at the Brighton game, the amount of tackles he pulled out of, and it just it really worried me and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I hate that. I coach football down here myself in Greystones, and if I have a player that pulls out of a tackle, I absolutely roast him. I hate to see that. It's just a bone of contention with me.
Who would you like? As in, if you had a realistic target that Liverpool could target in the midfield, who would your ideal who comes to mind for you?
Well, the Basuma one was a weird one because last summer we were heavily linked with him at 50, 60 million. And then this season he's available, box to box, absolutely powerful. Absolutely ran the show at Anfield when I was at that game last season. And so powerful. And 25 million. What were we doing sleeping on that? Absolutely ridiculous. And then they were talking about linking us back with Gini Wijnaldum for a 5 million fee, wages fee. And I was thinking, sure, if you just take the money off Taki and you take the money off the money off that Gini Wijnaldum wages rubbish and just throw that all together with a little bit more, you would have got Yves Bissouma, or you could potentially convince Yuri Tillemans. You know what I mean? Like, it's mad what's available, and we don't seem to be moving on it. And it's whether, I don't know whether they can't see it or they don't want to address it. And I know they're caught up in this whole Jude Bellingham thing for next season and stuff like that. But what they're forgetting is next season, all those players at the moment that are in their prime are going to be a year older. And they're also forgetting as well, we're potentially going to lose Firmino, we're potentially going to lose Salah, and we're going to be bringing in Jude Bellingham potentially. And Jude Bellingham, depending on how he goes in the World Cup, I think he's going to have a fabulous World Cup. He's going to be 100 million plus next year if he has a really, really good World Cup. And if we go out and we sign him for 100 million, and let's be honest here, all the top teams next summer will want him if he has a really, really good World Cup. No doubt about it. And if we do sign him and we spend that money, how are we going to replace Salah? How are we going to replace Bobby? You know what I mean? And then you think Taki is gone, Origi is gone. So many players gone as well.
And we haven't, we know Núñez is a prospect, but we don't know what we're going to... The Premier League will tell us, we don't know yet,
Yeah, no, it's absolutely madness.
There he is.
The man is back. Craig jumped on in your absence. We covered all the Liverpool stuff, so we didn't need to. You're probably delighted you missed it.
I don't know what happened. Like, I was sitting here happy as Larry, everything was going well, and the next minute it was like the Martians landed on my laptop.
Mark Rennan in the comments here, he said he was sick of listening to you. He told me to cut you off, so I had to deal with the lads in the chat say. Listen, Craig, absolute pleasure having you on. We get you on again next week to talk all things Liverpool as well.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, pal.
Thanks for bailing.
And we're back. Let's talk. Mark is in the chat here. He's talking about Arsenal. Let's have a chat about Arsenal then. They've agreed a fee for Jesus. What's your thought on this? I think we both think this is a very good signing for Arsenal, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, 110%. And I think, listen, I know we spoke about it last night and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure Nketiah and Jesus will get the volume of goals that Arsenal will need. But I'm open to persuasion on it. And I think with what goes on behind that number 9 position at Arsenal, you've got Odegaard, you've got Saka, you've got Martinelli, you've got the new boy Vieira, you've got Smith Rowe, Like, there's a lot of good footballers there. They should be able to create an awful lot of chances. Arsenal's big issue recently has been not being able to put the ball away. If Jesus can hit the ground running there, and if Eddie Nketiah can back him up with goals from the bench, and maybe games when Jesus isn't available, this could work in really good tandem here. These lads could. I think Arsenal are doing some good business in a minute. I think they've got Jesus in. They've obviously got the boy Vieira. I think if they got Rafinha in, this would be a massive window for Arsenal.
Yeah, that's a big question probably for Mark in the chat there. Do we think they would spend that money on Jesus and on Rafinha? Are they going to back Arteta that much?
Well, I mean, the one thing I'd have to ask is, where are all these boys going to fit? Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of games and stuff like that. But typically, Bukayo Saka plays on the right of a front three. Now, Rafinha would tend to play on the right of the front three. You know, you've got Smith Rowe and Martinelli who like to come from the left-hand side. You've got Nketiah and Jesus who are going to want to play through the middle and stuff like that. And you've got Odegaard who likes to play as that 10. But, like, I don't know, would you be spending that much money on someone like Rafinha if he wasn't going to play week to week? Or does Mikel Arteta know something about Bukayo Saka that we don't, i.e. that maybe he's not very happy at Arsenal, which is something we have heard in the past.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe they're looking to get somebody like Rafinha before they sell Saka because they'd only put over a barrel for the transfer fee. Just saying.
This is Mark. I had a small little vent about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain while you were away. So Mark's rubbing it in here. They got 40 million offers for him. Madness. Absolute madness. That hurts
40
me
million for Oxlade-Chamberlain?
Yeah, I think that's what we paid from you. That's what we paid from
you.
Now, having said that, when he came in first, he was doing really, really well, and then he got that bad injury. I have to say that as well. But yeah, 40 million.
Wasn't doing 40 million well though.
He was doing pretty good, in fairness. If you think those first few months at Liverpool before he got that injury, he was playing really well and he was scoring as well. So yeah, but I'm still sick of the 40 million. Don't get me wrong.
Just while we're on Arsenal, my dad, as you know, was an Arsenal fan, and he wasn't a big fan of a certain United player. And it was a United player that I was a particular fan of. I thought Rio Ferdinand was just an unbelievable footballer. And my old man used to always say, tell you what, the fella that got 30 million for him. But the guy that got 40 for Oxlade-Chamberlain, that guy deserves at least what the Glazers got today.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably got it. I was listening to a podcast, actually. I was listening to a podcast there yesterday, I think it was, with Anton Ferdinand. And he was talking about Rio Ferdinand. It was really, really good to listen to. And he was talking about Rio being as close to the modern day centre-back as you get these days. That he was really the blueprint for what we see today with the Van Dijks and all that kind of stuff. What's your thoughts on that? Yeah, it's a good shout, isn't it?
I've always thought, and again, this is something I argue with United fans, that, United fans are like, we need a Vidic. And I was like, listen, Vidic was great and all that, but Vidic wouldn't have been half the player he was if he hadn't been played beside Rio Ferdinand. He was that technically gifted player. He had the speed. He read the game very well. He could play the ball out with his feet very, very well. Vidic was, in a sense, the destroyer. He went in and put his head where guys didn't put their feet. And there's a place for that in a football pitch, and we know that. But I do like the way they played together, where one guy, Vidic would go and win the headers. He'd go, if one of the attackers came short to get the ball, Vidic would go with him. Ferdinand would just sit, be real clever, be the absolute very last line of defence, not over commit and stuff like that. We talk about Wan-Bissaka at times, United fans, and they're like, he's a great tackler. He has to be a good tackler. He gets caught out of position so often, So somebody like Ferdinand didn't do that. He was very clever, technically very, very gifted. And I would say Anton Ferdinand hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark again back with us saying that Saka will sign his new contract. He played every game for Arsenal last season and England.
He did.
Interesting, Mark. Myself and Darren have had a number of conversations on the podcast about how the comparison between Saka and Rashford. Remember, Darren, when we spoke about this, how one came back from the Euros, I think it was, so disappointed and just fell asunder all season. And Saka, the young lad, came back in a similar situation, but absolutely embraced it and hit the ground running and got on with it and showed that maturity way beyond his years. And I think we spoke about this a number of times.
Yeah, we absolutely did. Saka, for me, has been immense for Arsenal. And as Mark says, he played an awful lot of football for England as well. But I think his maturity has gone beyond his years at this stage. As you said, he came back after missing that penalty. He could have buried his head in the sand and let things get on top of him. He didn't. The kid just kept working. He kept rocking up week after week, putting performances in. And he's going to be a massive player for Arsenal or for any other club he might decide to get involved with.
Yeah, towards the end of the season, he looked absolutely banjaxed, didn't he? Like they ran him into the ground, didn't he? He looked exhausted, but a heck of a talent, unbelievable.
Great kid.
Mark also talking about the five subs. The 5 subs next season, Arsenal need a much bigger squad, and Rafinha will be a great fit for Arsenal. Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt Rafinha going in there will be an absolute great fit. The question I pose, Mark, is will the board give Arteta that much money to spend to bring in Jesus and Rafinha? I think if both came in, I think it'd be absolutely fabulous for Arsenal. And certainly it would dampen down, to talk about the Cronkies and some of the talk about Edu and about Arteta as well. If you're bringing in that level of talent, now that's assuming it all hits the ground and works out and goes the way we think. But yeah, absolutely. I just wonder whether they would back him that far. What's your thoughts on that, Darren? Do you think they'd back him that far to give him that money?
Arsenal haven't tended to spend that much money, and that's basically where my thinking was on Saka. I'm certainly not trying to, say, Saka needs to leave Arsenal for Arsenal, but I think Arsenal have been good for Saka as well because it's guaranteed game time at the minute for him. If he went into a Liverpool, he might be part of a rotation where he'd come in and out of the team and stuff like that. And I think you see how that affects players' performances with the likes of Jack Grealish and stuff like that. Grealish was a far better player when he's playing week to week at Aston Villa. It's more difficult in the City squad now. But I think if Rafinha is coming in, I'll be shocked if somebody at Arsenal isn't heading out the door. I think Saka's probably the most likely candidate, if I'm honest. Now, I do know that quite a couple of times, clubs have been linked. There's something there. Maybe, I know he's carried a lot of injuries, the lad Martinelli. Been excellent when he's been on the pitch, but carried a lot of injuries. Maybe Mikel Arteta is saying, you know what, this kid is unbelievable, but we can't keep carrying a guy who's going to be injured every 5-6 games. Maybe they might look to cash in on him and allow Rafinha to come in and take that spot. I don't know. It's been a long time since Arsenal spent the money on a Vieira, the money on a Jesus, and the money on a Rafinha. Like, that's going to be best part of 150 million oil. And they're giving
I think was it last summer they spent about 120, wasn't it? They brought in Ben White, they brought in Ramsdale.
Yeah.
And they brought
in
who else?
Tomiyasu,
and there was one or two others, wasn't it? But they spent about 120 million. So, yeah, maybe, it'll be interesting to see. Mark as well thinking Rashford's downfall. You would have a comment on this, Darren. Rashford's downfall was down to Ronaldo coming in as well. I don't know. I think his downfall was purely down to Marcus Rashford. I'm just laying at his door. I'm not putting it down to anything else.
I'm certainly not putting it down to Ronaldo. I don't think there's a footballer on this planet who wouldn't want to be playing in alongside a Ronaldo and to learn some of the things you could learn and to go under that kind of a wing of a Cristiano Ronaldo. Because don't forget, Cristiano, when he's that kind of a nippy winger with very little end product, I would say he was very, very similar to a Marcus Rashford. A one-trick pony, a guy that beat a guy and wanted to indulge himself and go back and beat him a second time, rather than being more direct, rather than getting the ball in. But he worked and he got better at it. I think Rashford could absolutely learn from, Ronaldo. I don't think that was the problem. I've said it before, And I will say it again. I feel like his biggest problem this year, Marcus Rashford, has been what's gone on with Mason Greenwood. And I think that's really hit him, because I think they're two young lads who came up together, but they've come up through the same academy and stuff like that. They've been involved together at a lot of stuff, at United and at England. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a guy who you played football with for a long, long time, and you're thinking, is this guy ever going to be able to come onto a pitch again? And I think that hit Rashford hard. I think his confidence was down after the Euros. I think the Greenwood thing hit him hard. United were an absolute shit show. But I fully expect, and I am going to put my hand up now to have it slapped, I fully expect to see this season. If we have an end of season, when we have an end of season awards, and it's the player that shocked you the most, I think a lot of people are going to say Marcus Rashford, because I don't think they're going to believe how good he's going to be this season under Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, it's probably a good show. But having said that, I think the level he was at last season, it won't take much to show a lot of improvement, really, because we know the boy's a fabulous talent. We know it's in there.
And that's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm saying it. I think if the kid can get a bit of confidence back, if he can say, listen, this is what we want you to do. Because again, I think at times he looked like there was no direction in what he wanted to do. Even when I look at teams like City under a Guardiola, even when players aren't playing well, they still know what their job is. They may not be, very, very confident, and they might not be doing it to the letter of the law, but you can see they know what their job is. At United, nobody knew what their job was. Your man washing the kit thought he was to be getting players off a bus. So, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, here's a great show from Craig. I think it's one that we would agree with as well, and I'm sure Mark would be interested in this as well.
Absolutely.
If Arteta doesn't work out, Vieira is the man, doing a fabulous job at Crystal Palace.
100%. Absolutely 100%. I think it was very, very clever from Patrick Vieira coming in to take a job like Crystal Palace, knowing if I put my best foot forward here and I can show, a little bit here, and anything goes wrong in Arsenal, who's the first person they're going to look at? They're going to look at me, and I could get this gig, and with a much better squad, I could really do a good job here.
Yeah, he'd certainly carry a certain level of respect as well, wouldn't he? That I think Arteta craves, but not necessarily can harness. I think with Patrick Vieira, there's a staliness about him and a legacy there and stuff like that. Certainly, 12 months anyway, he would get a lot of respect in there from the Arsenal fan base. So yeah, it's a great show, Craig. Great show. Something we spoke about on the podcast during the season.
And probably from the Everton fan base as well. Don't forget that creep that he clocked at the end of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig, back again. Liverpool might target Saka when Salah goes. That's a good shout, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's something I had thought about, to be honest with you. I certainly don't think it's like for like, but again, I think anybody that goes into that Liverpool system, with Klopp at the helm, does a really, really good job, I imagine, because again, Klopp knows how to get the message across and what he's looking for from his players.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I suppose if these boys go out and have a really good World Cup in the winter, they're going to cost an arm and a leg next season, aren't they, really, when you think about the value and stuff like that? And Saka would be one of those boys who could potentially have a really good World Cup.
Absolutely. I think I'm gonna be very interested to see actually how England decide to line up in Qatar, if I'm honest. I think after what happened with the Euros and stuff like that, you've a few problems at England, because obviously I personally think they're going to go really far. I expect to see them in bare minimum a semi-final. I don't want to say it, but I think they could really, really do well here. I think their biggest issue we have is that back four. I think on the in the right and the left back slot, I think they're okay. I think it's a centre back role is the big problem. I think that's why he tends to play three. Yeah. If he could get two centre backs into those two positions and make them very, very solid and allowed to move then to a 4-3-3 or a whatever, I think that could be huge for England, and they could really, really push on.
Yeah, absolutely. Statman Stubbs in the House Football channel. Big shout out to Statman. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it. Head over, check out his channel. Really, really good. Good to see you on here, man. Mark is all in on Arteta, so I won't give my comment on Vieira just yet. Come on, Mark. Don't hold back. I know you're holding fire on Arteta at the moment. You want it to work out, but to have Big Paddy there on the sideline would be immense. There's no doubt about it. Craig, I think he would also take
but listen,
and Mitchell. Yeah, go on.
Don't forget, and this is the thing that I've been harping on about all night, and I'll keep harping on about. I like that Mark is all in on Arteta. You know, he should be behind his manager. You know, and we need to start giving guys the benefit of the doubt instead of trying to bury them before they've kicked the ball, before they've had the right amount of time, before they've been back to the market and stuff like that. You know, where football fans have always been fickle people, but it's got to the stage now where it's just been lunacy. Again, I'll just go back to that famous United forum that I've on. And at one stage, they had to take off posts during the game because the forum was filling up with posts of
toxic.
Such and such is a you know what, such and such is a you know what. This fella's blind. He can't walk, lads. Hold on a minute here. If you're going to be constructive and you want to talk about things and this and that, like, fine. But let's not just be going in on lads because they didn't put something away. I mean, how many times do people miss chances? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, there's the shout with a note. There's a shout with a noy from Craig. There's the shout with a noy. It's an absolute joke that Fikayo Tomori doesn't get a look in the England squad. That kid, if he played in the Premier League, will be first choice on the England starting 11 every week and twice on a Sunday because he is a but love it, Craig. I love it.
Yeah, great show. We're going to get into Mark's comment there as well. He wants your comments on De Jong and stuff like that. But before we get into that, we said we were going to have a competition. We're giving away a shirt and a hat tonight. So the lads are in there. So the question is, and it's fitting this week, I have a favourite goal that Thierry Henry has scored. Okay? And now everyone knows I'm a Liverpool man. So everyone should have a fair idea what this goal is because it clearly wasn't against Liverpool and everyone knows I kind of have a lack of love for Man United. So I'm putting that out there as a hint, right? So the question for this week's giveaway and this week's competition.
Can I have a guess?
No, you can't answer because you already have the kit. Okay.
Well, can I have a guess?
You can have a guess.
Mark's already given us the answer.
There you go. There's the answer. It's done. Mark, you're the winner. So, Mark, what you need to do is you need to jump on email. You need to email the uppertierpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know name and address. And let us know your size as well. And we get a shirt and a hat out to you this week. Absolutely brilliant. Now, I hope we're talking about the same one. It was obviously the one where he turned Dennis Irwin and just flicked the ball straight over Barthez, wasn't it?
Was it not the one where Barthez came sliding out and completely out the ball now?
No, I'm talking about the one where he was out on you know the one I'm talking about. But that is one of my favourite ones.
Rolled it up his left foot and turned and put it in the far corner. And I just remember thinking, holy shit, did that just happen?
And there is not many forwards that roll Dennis Irwin like that. Dennis Irwin, absolutely fabulous player. Player. But that was the goal. So Mark, yeah, absolutely. Send on your detail to us there and email and we'll get that out to you. And let us know your size as well. We don't need your head size, just your shirt size. The caps are all adjustable, so don't worry about that. Yeah. Classic. Well done. Straight in there, out of the block straight away. Mark knows me too well. He's been watching these shows. Where do we want to go to next? Liverpool.
No. We're going to
sorry. We have to go to De Jong. We're going to be talking about Frankie De Jong. As if we haven't spoke about him enough in the last month. Anyway, give him your thoughts on Frankie De Jong.
Yeah, looking forward to it, to be honest with you, man. I think.
Well, first of all, is it going to happen and everything? We have to start there, don't we?
It's absolutely going to happen. There's no two ways about it. It's absolutely going to. It has to happen. You know, physically, it has to happen because Barca don't have any money. Like, they're throwing money on the table left, right, and centre. They don't have, on top of the payment that they have to make to La Liga. So this will happen. This is a game of poker. This is somebody saying, shout out to my friend Jack Trott, who I played poker face with today over a wrestling figure. We didn't come to terms on an agreement just yet, but this is the same gig. This is somebody wants something, somebody is going to get something, and somebody's trying to get the best price for it, and that's it. But I think De Jong is going to be a great addition to United. I think Mark's right in what he's saying. It'll happen. Both clubs need it to happen. I think Frankie's going to come to Manchester United. He's going to be... Isn't necessarily something that happens to players at Barcelona unless you're Lionel Messi. And I think he's going to meet up with his old friend Donny van de Beek and his old friend Erik ten Hag. And I think he's going to get the band back together. And I think he's going to be unbelievable in that little axis between the defence and the midfield for United, playing that double pivot and trying to take the ball and get it on the move out to those wide players and stuff like that. And I think he's going to have a great season.
Right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, right?
You are with a United player. What a shock!
What if it doesn't happen? What's plan B?
Sorry, Noel, what did you say?
What I said was, if it doesn't happen, what is plan B? Or is there a plan B?
Is you go and get another midfielder, Well, there's got to be a plan B. Like, maybe it's maybe plan B is Christian Eriksen, maybe that's what's stalling things. Maybe you're going to take both of them. There's other midfielders out there. United have looked at the boy Sangari from PSV. He plays a slightly more defensive position than De Jong would play, and he's not as good on the ball. But again, he's someone that could go in there and provide some well-needed field. I firmly believe it'll happen. I genuinely do. I think it's a matter of I think it's a matter of when rather than if.
Yeah, it's a big shout. Yeah. Big up to Ben. Ben's after joining the chat there. Up the lads. Big shout out to Ben.
Up the Dominoes. Yup.
Up the Dominoes, yeah. Anyone who wants pizza, hit up Ben.
Hit Ben up. The pizzas are only 14 quid, but if you can hit Ben up, he'll get you them for 17.
Yeah. Mark as well. Mark's flying. Question for Mark actually here from Craig. Do you think Ten Hag will have to get the best out of what's there instead of multiple transfer purchases? And do you think Van de Beek can also play a major part? Do you see Van de Beek, Darren, coming back in and playing a major part?
I think he'll play a part, and it'll certainly be a bigger part than he's played previously. But I don't know if he can play a major part. I'm just not convinced on Donny that the Premier League is suited to his
shtick.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. Like, and here's the mental thing, I kind of think you could send him off to Spain, and he do a fabulous job in there, and I think he send him off to Italy, and I think he do a great job in there again for a lot of teams. I just think, like some players, pace of the Premier League doesn't suit everybody. I think it's very physical, far more physical in Spain than Italy. And I think with the physicality and with the pace, I think I'm not quite sure Donny can have as big a say as we need him to have coming through this season.
Yeah, big show. Let's move on then. I wanted to have just a quick chat about this this French Senate this week. We know Spirit of Shankly made representation for Liverpool and stuff like that, and they gave their thoughts on the fiasco, really. That was the Champions League final, and I know on the night I gave interviews to Sky Sports News after it and stuff like that, and BBC World and all. I didn't necessarily share my thoughts on it at the time because at that stage it was quite raw after the cup final. I didn't really know what had happened and what had transpired, and there was a lot of talk. Obviously, Liverpool fans had it again. It's always this way, and So, but
when you say it was a bit raw, was that because you were on Sky Sports and you were just about to start crying because you're after being bent over the barrel by Real? Was that what you mean by raw?
Well, bent over the barrel is a bit extreme now, isn't it? Let's just say it hurt. I was hurting. But yeah, they asked me to comment on it, but I couldn't really comment on it because I didn't really know the detail.
Like a guy that dropped the soap.
Not quite. But yeah, I think the representation they gave this week, and I think they were calling on the French Interior Minister to resign and all and stuff like this. Now, I don't know, does it go that far? But it was a fairly and we've seen this before. We've history with this as well. I think back in 2016, wasn't it, when Ireland played Sweden there? The Irish fans were treated more or less the same way as well. And we were hearing that a lot of the tickets that were used were club issue tickets to friends and family and all that kind of stuff. So they were legit tickets. We know Andy Robinson's family and friends had a problem getting in. We know that Joel Matip's sister had a club ticket and she was pregnant and she was sprayed with tear gas and stuff like that and all. So there's a lot of detail there, and it looks like this the French authorities and the police are trying to cover up an awful lot here, aren't they?
I'd say they just didn't want them getting in case they cause trouble, because we know them Scots are like after a few gargles, are a bit rowdy. But now listen, this is another shit show. This is another UEFA shit show, and this was a French shit show. I happened, as you know, to be in Paris the weekend after the Champions League final, and I was astounded at the level of visible police and army around the city. Is there an awful lot of armed police and police in general and army with guns hanging around their necks and stuff? And I was like, this is mental. If you had told me they were on high alert for a terror attack, I wouldn't have been shocked, if I'm honest with you. However, apparently this is the new now in Paris, because Paris is, it's a chaotic city at the best of times with the gangs and with what lives in Paris on the daily, regardless of what comes in, i.e. from other countries and from for sporting events like the Champions League final, or for tourists like myself and stuff like that. Paris is, it's not a nice place. And even, I think we spoke about him earlier, and Thierry Henry mentioned it, didn't he? He said, the stadium is in Saint-Denis, and he said Saint-Denis is not in Paris. He said it's a suburb outside of it, and he said it's not a nice place.
Yeah.
He said you can walk down the lane and there's guys waiting to hijack it and jump it and stuff like that. And so when you combine all that together and you see the way the police and the army and the stewards and everybody acted, I'm certainly not, relieving them of any doubt or guilt, but I am saying maybe they knew what they were possibly dealing with in some of the locals and were a little bit heavy-handed in to trying to deter that. But listen, it was disgraceful. It really was.
Yeah, Craig back again. Football fans in general were treated as bad by the police as they were by the scumbags who stole and attacked them. Disgraceful, shameful. Even the bottleneck to the gate is a setup. Yeah, good points there, Craig. Yeah, it was the scenes and the pictures were awful, and even when you see scenes there, I've seen scenes where there was a guy lying on the ground, and there was those local guys talking about there, and they were kicking him, and his kid was standing beside him. His kid standing beside him, you know what I mean? And it's just, and for the French authorities to stand up and try to play that down or justify it or park it at someone else's door, it's just shocking, really. And it was great to hear those guys, Spirit of Shankly and representation from the club and stuff over there, giving their view and stuff like that. And also, as I said at the top of the show, Real Madrid fans as well, they were there giving representation as well, because they were badly treated as well. And
absolutely,
it's just one of those things that they'll just have to learn from, and maybe choice of venue in the future may need to be looked at. Let's talk Christian Eriksen. I mean, you spoke about Christian Eriksen a little bit, but let's talk about him. There's a kind of number of reports came out this week from different reporters and transfer people and stuff like that. At 1 minute he was it was a done deal type of thing. He was nearly there. They had agreed terms, all that kind of thing. The next thing he wasn't sure. He might want to stay in London. What's your thoughts on Christian Eriksen?
Yeah, listen, I think that's a tough decision for Christian Eriksen, if I'm honest. Where everything he's been through, obviously his family and stuff like that have Spurs. We don't know if the whole family went to Inter, or if maybe he went and his wife and the kids stayed behind and they kept him in school, which is what happens at times, when he'd have a couple of days off and he'd visit them and stuff like that. We're not sure. But if London is his base, it's obviously going to be more difficult to choose a club outside of it. Now, I did hear that he had kind of, he had softened his approach to having to be in London. And with that in mind, that's where maybe the solidifying of the links to United and things being done came about. I'm pretty sure after or before the game that we beat them at Old Trafford, I mentioned it could have been his audition. I'm fairly sure I remember that on a Premier League preview. So I kind of saw this coming down the barrel, if I'm honest. And I'd love United to get it over the line because I think he'd be a great addition. I think he's a super footballer. I think he's exactly what we need. Somebody that can maintain possession of the ball, create the tempo and stuff like that. I'd love to see himself and Frankie de Jong in there in midfield. I think they'd be a great foil for each other. There's nothing better when you're a good footballer looking beside you and seeing another really good footballer and thinking, if I get into a bit of trouble out here, I can look to this guy and he's going to have me back. And I think the lads could work very well together.
Yeah, what was your thinking on some of the news coming out today? There was 2 points today really came out today. One was they didn't really want to progress on deals until the De Jong deal was done, which is kind of weird. Now, I know they would be working on other deals, but they were heavily focused, and I think they've brought in, is it Tom Keane? Is it?
It brought in Michael Keane's brother, yes.
Yeah, is it Tom
Keane? Who wouldn't be, I think it's Tom Keane, but who wouldn't be unknown to United. Obviously, Michael Keane was at Manchester United, and so was Will Keane, who now is obviously an Irish international and plays for Hull City. So Tom is obviously, he's maybe been around the club before, and people may know him and stuff like that, and they're looking to maybe bring him in to get him involved in transfer discussions and negotiations.
Yeah. So, I mean, their overall thinking on that is they have a plan there. They know they have key targets that they have to bring in.
Yeah.
So they should be working on trying to land all of them. They shouldn't really be waiting on the De Jong deal, should they?
The one thing I will say is, if De Jong is going to be your marquee, he is going to be one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. If you can secure that piece first, maybe it helps to make those links with other players. If I'm Christian Eriksen and I'm going, do I want to leave my family? Not sure if I want to go up to Manchester. Look at what they've got going on at the minute. Frankie de Jong walks in the door and Erik ten Hag says, I want you to play in midfield with him. Christian Eriksen's cycling up there. You know what I mean? A lot quicker than he is if he says, you're going in next to Fred McTominay. And don't forget, I'm a big fan of the two boys. So, that I'm not getting at them. But what I am saying is, when you attract bigger and better players, again, it's easier to attract more of them.
Yeah,
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think it's something that's frustrating United fans at the minute, and the pace at which things are moving.
Yeah, well, that really wraps it up for us tonight. I think we've covered more or less everything at this stage. It's been a real good show. I'm glad the guys jumped on in the chat. Anyone who jumped on, big up to those guys who jumped in the chat. And Craig and Mark and Ben Drop Boy and Statman and all. Check out those channel stuff, and Morris as well from Cheap Heat Productions. So yeah, we're going to be doing more of these
as well.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I had a couple of little rants or discussions, let's call them, with United fans today. One of them was obviously about Scott McTominay, and the other discussion I had today was about David De Gea, and about how certain United fans can't believe that he hasn't been replaced yet. And I'm going, of what we had last season, if you watched us in any of those games and you think either Ronaldo or David De Gea are huge issues at our club right now, stop watching football and start watching cricket. Because
David De Gea is always around player of this season every year nearly.
Oh yeah, but he can't play football from the back because his passing is really poor and his distribution is really poor. And I tried to explain to somebody, but people can, people like to use stats and they like to use narratives to push their own little opinions and stuff like that. And here's the thing for me: I played in goal, right? So my manager says to me, "Okay, big man, I want you to play the ball out from the back." And I go, "Okay, Gaffer, yeah, no matter." Now, that works to a degree. But if he puts Phil Jones and Harry Maguire in front of me, I'm hitting them 2 corner flags every single fucking time, right? Because I'm not allowing the ball to go between the lines of the 18-yard box for Bill and Ben to cough up possession and back and hand in, and me to have to be man of the match so we only lose 3-0, right? At points in games, there's times when somebody knocks the ball back to a goalkeeper, right? Goalkeeper looks up. He might see there's something on there, but he might also see, do you know what? There's a little bit of space over there. Why don't we go that way? Because maybe in that pattern of play, we've been under the cosh for 5 or 10 minutes. And again, a short pass is going to induce pressure from the other side. And it's going to mean we're going to be on the back foot again. Don't tell me anybody wants to make their job harder. So don't start digging out David De Gea when he's had some of the absolute worst performances and players from a Man United team, in the history of the club in front of him.
Yeah.
Don't be going at De Gea and the guy has done absolutely everything for us as a goalkeeper. We would have possibly been relegated last season had he not been as good as he was. And the other thing is, and again, I spoke about this, we don't know what the messages were from the sideline. Maybe, just maybe, Ralph Rangnick told him, you've got 2 donkeys playing in front of you. Don't give it to them. Get the ball to the halfway line. We want the wingers to try and win the headers because we feel like if we can get the ball higher up quicker and be a bit more direct, we can play past that press. Happens quite regularly. Yeah, but now the stats say he's the 2nd worst distributor of the ball in the league. Well, the stats lie sometimes, lads, and stats create narratives. Stop reading stats and start watching games of football with your eyes and create your own opinion. I have loads of opinions that other people don't agree with, but they're still my opinions, and I'll talk about them, I'll discuss them, and I'll back them up. Don't just be the sheep and follow, but the stats say.
Yeah, but I mean, it's amazing when they look at a position like that, isn't it? And they only look at like a certain portion of the stats. And it's always the stats that are kind of poor. If you look at David De Gea, look at his saves. His saves must be unbelievable.
What do you want, Noel? A goalkeeper that can make saves? Now, come on. What are you doing? Like, trying to reinvent the wheel here? Surely we only have goalkeepers now that can kick the
ball. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
We'll stop calling them goalkeepers. They're going to be They're going to be goal punters soon.
Yeah. We should maybe take away the handling of the ball, and they can only play football. They can't handle anymore. Yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Craig, David De Gea can hold his head up.
You know what? Actually, David De Gea can hold his head up. Unbelievable if De Gea could only use his feet, because don't forget he is very good with them and makes a number of top saves with his feet. That boy.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig bigging up here, David De Gea and Ronaldo out the whole season can hold their head up. Well, yeah, I think we'd agree with that. He's 2 of them, the only 2 who play for the short last season. Yeah, it's a good show.
I won't agree with it, Craig, because I do think there's other lads that put it in, especially my boy Fred in the middle. Big up to Fred. I love you, kid. Keep playing for that jersey. The Samba Boys. I absolutely love the kid. I really do. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't want to work and if you don't want to dig and you don't want to scratch and claw, you'll go nowhere. That kid maybe doesn't have all the talent in the world, but he'll put a shift in, he'll put himself about, and he'll work his knackers off. And United right now, we need players like that. We don't need Paul Pogba. get in your jet, have your little pugmentary, and get the fudge out of here, pal. You are one forgettable player. One absolutely forgettable player. Thank you, and good night.
But we are going to review the Pogba documentary, and we are
I'm
going
not.
to.
I am absolutely not. Because that would mean I would have to watch way on this side of Pluto. I am giving that pleb any sort of coverage and watching that, whatever it is. Not a chance am I watching it. Will not do it.
Well, I'll watch it and review it then, so you don't
You
have to
watch
go
it.
through the pain of it.
He is a goon of epic proportion. A goon.
No problem. Well, on that note, I suppose it's only fitting on our first live show, outside of deadline days and stuff like that, that we should finish with you bigging up Fred. I think you are the biggest Man United Fred fan that I know, without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely.
And if you guys want to contact the show, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, the Upper Tier Podcast. You'll also get audio versions of the show on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. We're releasing shows every day, but we're hoping going forward that this will be our Thursday tier talk, and we'll be doing on a Thursday with a few technical glitches last night, and that's why we did the Premier League predictor that we released today, and it got some interesting comments. The Premier League predictor as well, Darren.
Did it?
Couple of guys were on there commenting on it, yeah.
I've been a busy boy today, so I haven't had time to check, but I might have a little peep after this.
Might be worth having a look. But yeah, we'll be doing a lot more of these interactive live shows as well. I think this show would be a great show, for our Beat the Bookie show or something like that. We could do a live and have people dropping in their bets and stuff like that and having a chat about and stuff like that. But we'll have a look at it and we'll expand on these live shows. There's no doubt about it. So we will be back next Thursday with Thursday Tier Talk with a whole fresh set of topics. Hopefully more people in the chat and stuff like that and more giveaways. And
hopefully my computer doesn't decide to have a Figueiredo halfway through it either.
Yeah, well, Craig jumped in there.
Big shout out to Craig. Thanks, Craig, for bailing us all out, pal. Really appreciate that. You're a gent.
It was perfect timing because Craig jumped in and we talked all things Liverpool. And then when you came back in, we were finishing off at Liverpool. So you got to avoid all the Liverpool talk tonight. Craig jumped in, so it was great.
I didn't plan that at all.
We kind of had like a little impromptu Shankly sessions in the middle of our live tier talk. So yeah, pretty cool. But until next time, an absolute pleasure. And thanks to everyone. Make sure before you go, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit that share button and the bell notification. Keep us growing. The channel's growing all the time. And we really enjoyed having your company here tonight. And we will be back soon. Cheers, bud.
Thanks, pal.